It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is January 6th. Hold on, let me clear my throat. January 6th, 2026, and this is the C Block. John, I'm calling the mystery guest right now. You ready for this?
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
I'm calling our mystery guest right now, and we're going to see if this is going to work. Hold on, this should work. No, hold on a minute. Yeah, here we go. Okay, it's working. It's working.
Hello.
Mr. Scott Faughn, good morning to you.
Morning, sir.
By the way,
how are things in the Westplex?
We're doing great. I have to tell you one thing. We don't have all the fancy equipment that you have down in Jefferson City. So John Combest can hear you, but he can't respond to you through our equipment. So I want to tell you.
I can talk all the smack about John I want, and he can't respond until after the break. Okay.
There you go, John. Okay, I'm going to ask John, Scott. I'm going to ask John. John, do you know why I'm calling Scott Faughn?
Did anything monumental happen over Christmas break that involves Scott and the field of journalism?
Yes, he said, did anything monumental happen over Christmas break that involves Scott and journalism? Scott, can you maybe expound upon that?
Well, I made a decision I'm getting congratulated and pitied for. I bought the Jefferson City News Tribune, the Fulton Sun, and the California Democrat newspaper chain.
Really? Now,
I know. Either I'm an innovator that sees things other people don't, or I'm a fool who'll be bankrupt in a year and a half.
Now, for those of you who don't know don't know who you are, if you're in the political circle, you know exactly who Scott Faughn is. But you run an operation out of Jefferson City where essentially you do some very interesting things. You do a couple different shows. John Combest talks about what you do all the time. You do your TV show, you do your podcast, things like that. And you have an interesting background. Is that politics was not how you started out in life, correct?
I started off thinking I was going to pitch for the Cardinals, and then it kind of went differently from there. But I've been in and around the state capitol for 20 years. I first came up here with my local state representative, Mark Richardson, and it was an amazing, just an amazing place. I fell in love with not just the folks in the capitol, but the whole community. I love Central Missouri. It's where I chose to be home. And I could tell you sometimes, and maybe you can see this with the Westplex, some of the people that are the most passionate about a religion of the new converts, not so much the folks that have been on the pew for 20 years. There's so many great things about Central Missouri that I think I appreciate almost uniquely because I'm not from here. I'm experiencing one for the first time.
Now, the interesting thing is, Scott, in case you haven't been noticing, the newspaper business is not the most profitable business anymore. So why would you do something like this?
Well, like everything, everything has a certain value, right? And I do think there's been a regression in the newspaper sector. I don't think that's not lost on my banker, I assure you. But I think some of these properties have a lot of value. Now, are they valuable as a newspaper? I don't know. I will tell you this: the Jefferson City News Tribune has like the third largest subscriber base in the state. It is a very well accepted and appreciated community newspaper. But I think the future of it, you're gonna have to start incorporating video. I mean, I guess, Brett, you're a media guy. I've loved learning your story about how you found this almost a niche market and created this company out of it, and they're able to provide a really great service to folks and allow stations to improve their quality. I mean, that is a niche that you developed, right? You saw something other people didn't see, and were able to put together a successful business out of it that provided value to your customers. I think the newspapers are the same way. I just think the fact is a newspaper is not going to be a viable business just as a newspaper. You're going to have to. Why can't the News Tribune be a television station? Why can't you? Why wouldn't we be able to transition into all sorts of different types of media? I think if you're expecting to just have a regular newspaper, I don't think that's a viable business, and I don't think that's going to be going forward. I think you can take this very trusted brand that is known by 99% of this community. You can cover the entire state because you're the seat of state government, and I think you can take and innovate with other products besides just a grubby print newspaper.
Now, the interesting thing about it is you're an innovator in what you've done, and you brought up an interesting point that there was a point in time, let's say 20, 30, 40 years ago, where the gatekeepers were controlling everything. Now with the internet, anybody, like you just said, anybody can run their own quote-unquote TV station, which is essentially what you're doing. Is that the direction you're going to take with the papers?
I think you have to. Look, I enjoy, Brad, when John will make a point, and you'll be like, yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that source. That you know, the truth is, I actually think in a world where everybody's a journalist, the folks that have a brand that's trusted will actually be more valuable. Anybody can put stuff out there, but I consume news. I'm a bad test case. John would be, all three of us would be bad test cases. But I do believe that when people read something from a Twitter account, they go to trusted sources to see if it's actually accurate. The thing about fake news is that it's actually made the few sources that if we can earn your trust, we have some very valuable real estate. And so whether it's social media clips, whether it's actually a broadcast, news broadcast, John and I were able to do what one of the things I'm the most proud of in the last few years is doing that election results show. And I'm going to see if I can con John into doing it again in August. But, you know, in Missouri, everyone covers the national one. We did a national one, and I thought the production was successful, but if you want the truth, I don't know that because everybody was watching a more trusted outlet, frankly, for Donald Trump's reelection or whatever, Josh Hawley's race. I think in August, nobody covers those primaries like we did. And it was one of my favorite things we did. And I don't know why we couldn't continue to do that and build on that. And like I said, we've got to earn people's trust. If you earn their trust, though, I think your real estate's more valuable than it was 30 years ago.
Well, Scott, I was very impressed, and I have been very impressed with what you do. Your studios, and I've never seen them, but the product comes out, looks just like one of the regular local TV stations. It looks really good. It's not some guy sitting like in his bedroom with like books on the wall and stuff like that. You've got a nice, graphics package and the whole bit. You do it up right, and that's the interesting thing because the barrier to entry used to be the cost of equipment was so incredibly expensive, especially in TV. Now it's not. You can put together what you're doing, and I know you've got money invested in it, but you don't have near the investment you would have had 20 or 30 years ago.
It's true. It is. You said the barrier to entry is very low in the media space. But the barrier to doing something quality, you do have to put several $1,000s into making that work. But really, the technology part was something I could do because of our success in other businesses. I happened onto a guy right out of college named Kelton Turner, who deserves all the credit in the world. He's the guy that has the vision. He's got the hustle. He'll sweep the floor. He'll put together a video wall. I happened to get the right people together, and the right person that helped me with the construction. I've done construction, so the general parts of it I did, but really, Brad, as you know, any business is about the people. And I got Kelton right out of college, and if somebody tried to steal him, you'll probably see a white trash hillbilly dunking beer bottles out of an F-150 in your yard after you. He's a very important part of what we do, and it makes me so proud when there's a few, you get compliments in life. Compliments on the production quality of our shows is really something meaningful to me because we put the sweat equity in to getting there. But the truth is, it all started with getting the right guy in Kelton Turner.
Well, do a great job. We're talking with Scott Faughn, and I didn't realize you bought 3 papers. It's the Jefferson City paper. What were the other 2 papers as well, too?
The Fulton Sun and the California Democrat.
Wow. And they're all essentially what? Fulton's to the north, California's to the southwest, so you're sort of still in that mid-Missouri range then, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the difference in a corporation headquartered in Little Rock is you're 6 hours from Jeff City and you're 6.5 from Fulton or California. I'm just upstairs from the News Tribune, and I'm 20 minutes if there's no troopers out, which boy, there's more and more of them these days. If there's no troopers out, I'm 25 minutes from either one. If there's troopers out, 30, 35. It's just a tax on your time sometimes.
Are you in the same building as the News Tribune? Is that what you said? You're upstairs from them?
Well, I've got my studio here in my building, and I got an apartment in it. So at some point, we'll probably have the News Tribune in our building. But if you can imagine being around the media business, going from a very corporate ownership to a simple West Butler County hillbilly family company, it's a different world, and I think everybody's experiencing enough change without changing the addresses just yet.
Well, Scott, I saw your post on Facebook yesterday, and I congratulated you. As you probably know, I am a huge fan of locally owned and operated media, and quite honestly, I can tell you from 27 years of doing this, it ain't easy. So I wish you all the best. And before I let you go, John, anything you want to ask Scott real quick?
Yeah, when we do the election year specials, I've added to my writer that I need 2 packs of Red Hot Riblets.
Okay, you're going to have to ask. I couldn't quite hear that, Brad.
He said when he does the election recap with you, he wants a writer in his contract with you that says he gets 2 packs of Old Vienna Red Hot Riblets. That's what he wants.
So what was weird was last year, or in last election, his contract, it had all the writer exclusions, and it had Diddy's name scratched out, and John Combest wrote in over it. I'm telling you, it was some weird stuff, man. I mean, the Amazon dude actually opened the box. He's like, "Yo, what do you know it's baby oil for?" I'm like, "Look, John Combest is telling me he's a diva, and look, you gotta give talent what they demand."
Scott,
Kelton had to pick green M&Ms for 2 days just to keep his bowl in his green room right.
Scott, I can't wish you enough good luck. I think what you do is amazing. I have complimented you numerous times in this show. Matter of fact, I've even done your own the song we did for you, which is a rap version of this complimenting you. I think what you're doing is amazing. And can I tell you one thing that's very frustrating to me, and maybe you can identify with this? You mentioned that going to a banker. Okay, I have talked to various people in the radio business, and do you know who John Beck is? Does that name ring a bell?
Not really, no.
John Beck is a guy who ran radio stations here in St. Louis, and he was, at one point in time, he was on the National Association of Broadcasters board, and I met with him, I guess it was last year, 2 years ago, and I said to him, John, bankers won't give us broadcasters, a cup of coffee, no less money to buy a station. What we need to do is we need to come up with a group of broadcasters who put into a pool money for some young people who come along and want to buy a radio station or something like that, and maybe even the same thing with newspapers. In other words, sort of have a seed fund, a VC, a venture capital kind of thing, an angel investor kind of thing, where young people who decide they really want to get into the media and maybe take a stab at revitalizing an old-timey type of field like a newspaper or a radio station and turn it into something really interesting. What do you think of that?
I mean, I love that idea because, look, here's the truth. We got to have somebody to sell these properties to at some point. I've got a little gray around my ears. As that gray leaches up, I'm going to need some guy that's enterprising. And, it makes more sense if he's done it on a small level and you move up a little bit. I mean, it's kind of the way a lot of trades work. And I like the idea, and I guess this is the greedy Republican in me. I like the idea in part because it sounds awfully altruistic and I'd feel good about myself for the day. But I also like the thought of having some younger entrepreneurs who are getting business experience in this field that could go to a bank and lay out a business plan with credibility and say, you know what, I'm going to buy the News Tribune now. I'm going to pay him a lot of money for it.
Right. But right now, as you probably know, when you go to, you probably get the same response from your bankers as I get. When they say radio station, they say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. I said radio station. I still didn't hear you. Get what I'm saying, John? Scott?
Reminds me of that Family Guy skit where Darth Vader's in the loan officer's office and says, I'd like to start the Death Star. And he's like, what? Yeah. I'd like to start a sports bar. The guy's like, oh, a sports bar. Yeah, we'll want any money on that. Yeah. I think that's true, but I think, I'm of the belief you're going to, at some point, have to show the numbers. We were able to show folks the Missouri Times making money and save a good chunk of money in order to do it. I do believe if you go in with a business with tax returns and say, look, here's where we've made money. And we've got this deal in place, and we've got 30% down, and here's our track record, and here's our plan. I actually think you can, I would I'll just say this: if you're in the media and you're looking to do something, I am more than happy to share with you my approach and introduce you to my banker. I believe that corporate media has not done the viewers well, it's not done the communities well, it's not done transparency well. I'm a firm believer that maybe you can scale TV stations, and that's not a business I'm necessarily in. Tom Titz would be the expert on that. But for newspapers, they don't scale well. They don't scale well. The profits haven't been there. The quality hasn't been there. The communities aren't being served as well. You never can convince me of a newspaper that 5 years on is better off in a corporate fold than it is a local owner who, if you really don't like what he says, you can go at his out, take him out back and flog him, or you can go down to the office and give the editor a piece of your mind. or if you're a business owner, you know that you're going to see me at the Rotary Club, you're going to see me at the chamber event. It's just a bare bones fact. I don't think newspapers do well in a corporate setting, and I would encourage anybody to, hey, give it a try. You know, it's a business you can get into now, and you don't have to have four generations of money. You can just have a little hustle.
Scott, it's the same thing in the radio business. I agree with you 100%. Best of luck to you. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I mean this sincerely. Anything I can do to help you out, I'd be more than happy to.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, and tell John his break's over.
His break's over. Okay. Thanks, Scott. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. What do you think, John?
Fantastic conversation, Brad. Did you just hear about this yesterday?
I did. I don't mean
to put the screws to you, but yeah, it was the top of my. I know you don't actually go to my website, but it was the top of my website. You know, the day it happened, it was the biggest news in Missouri that day. It's awesome.
You know him personally, and you've done the show with him because I know you're in Jefferson City. What, like every other week or something like this?
3 times a day, actually.
3 times a day. I mean, he is to me a fascinating individual. Don't you think, John?
That's an understatement of the day. Yeah. And I mean, he's got, so many ideas of where he wants to go with this and how different the News Tribune can be. You take kind of a staid old name, a name that has a lot of, as Scott said, brand equity. And then you add new ideas to it and a new approach and a brand new way of thinking about those newspaper properties. It's awesome, Brad.
Well, the interesting thing about it is as well as all the brand equity, he is what I consider to be a true entrepreneur. The entrepreneur word has been sort of, thrown on anybody. If you buy a McDonald's franchise, you're an entrepreneur. To me, an entrepreneur is someone that makes something out of nothing. You know what I mean? They are literally starting a business that, from scratch or something like that. And not only that, he's a real innovator and a disruptor. And when I first, found out about him and starting doing his TV show in the Missouri Times and all, I thought to myself, and the interesting thing is you watch his TV shows and he's got some high-level advertisers on his show. I mean, he's got some, big corporate entities.
You got Ameren, you have Spire,
right.
You have, all the top companies in Missouri,
right.
For sure. And then you have, and let me say too, you also have, I sounded like Corey Bush there, and let me say this, you also have groups representing labor. You have groups representing agriculture. So it's not a partisan thing. You have, and another great thing, and I think Scott's been pretty clear about this. If you're in Jefferson City today in 2026 and you want to put together a top-notch event that has the key decision makers in Missouri actually coming to the event and taking part, you go to Scott to host the event. So most newspapers would never think of having an events division. But now in Jeff City, if you want to have a party, the first person you should talk to and get a quote from is Scott.
See, I think what he's done is amazing. And I will say one other thing, and you and I are on opposite sides of this equation. In his little post, he actually was a lengthy post on Facebook, he put his cell phone number on there. And I didn't have a cell phone number. Matter of fact, that's how I got his cell phone number. I texted him. When I saw that, I put it in my phone, and I go, I'm going to text him and thank you. And then I text him. I said, Scott, I would love to have you on the air tomorrow in the C block at 7:45. Are you able? And he goes, yeah, I'd be more than happy to. And he made that point. What he said is if he's the owner of the Missouri Times and the other things he does, and now the papers, when he goes to an event, and if somebody in that community doesn't like what he did, or maybe they did like what he did, they can come up to him and shake his hand and say, Scott, I think you suck, or Scott, I think you're wonderful, or Scott, you missed the point, or Scott, you didn't cover this properly. And his point being, that doesn't happen when it's corporate owned. Get what I'm saying, John?
Exactly. When was the last time, even in the 1980s or 90s, you would see an editor or a deputy editor of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch in public? You never would. Like,
right.
They wouldn't. They sat in an ivory tower. You're definitely going to see Scott if you're in Jeff City, and Scott would entertain any conversation, particularly constructive feedback.
Well, and that's why I give my cell phone number out in the air. Once again, 314-280-8880. You don't like what I'm doing. You think we can do something better. You have some suggestions. You think I suck. I suck. You think John's the wonderful guy that should be doing the show by himself. Look, I'm open to anything. And I think that is so important. And I hope that, I don't know if I'm going to live long enough, I hope that maybe we might see a trend of these big corporate guys losing interest in the media outlets, be it the newspapers. We just saw situation with the Hoffmans buying essentially Lee Enterprises, which is the owner of the Post-Dispatch. Maybe things will change because of the fact that what he said was so interesting. If you see something on Twitter, you see something on Facebook, you want to verify it. And where do you go? You go to a trusted source. You go to the Post-Dispatch website. You go to, the Tribune website, or whatever. And
I go to Brad's Westplex Chamber website when I need news.
Yes, no, you don't. Okay, John, we beat this one to death. You know what? So far this year, we've started out with 2 good shows, don't you think?
No, I think we've started off with 2 great shows, Brad. Great job getting Scott on today.
Tomorrow will suck, though, don't you think? Or tomorrow?
No, not at all, Brad. I'll see you on Hump Day.
Hump Day. Maybe we'll get Shelley on the air, and she could actually do the Hump Day song for us, right?
Would love it. Let's do it.
Okay.